Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video, and as that title and thumbnail probably spoils, we are here today to try to predict the upcoming World Cup, which was actually a subscriber requested video, as some of you let me know down in the comment section you would like to see some World Cup coverage. So here it begins, troops, and if you are a regular around here, you know what my batting average is like when it comes to any type a prediction. But just in case you are new around here and you're searching around because of the excitement of the World Cup, you might be building up your expectations, expecting me to be an expert and be great at this. Those expectations, let's go ahead and lower them bad boys pretty damn rapidly. In fact, the lower you go, the happier you'll be when it comes to this video, because if there is one thing I know, is whoever I predict to win this World Cup ain't doing it. But hey, we'll have a laugh on the way, and there's a lot of things we need to discuss, not only from the Scotland perspective, but obviously certain players representing their countries on international duty and everything in between, including a couple wee eye-openers and going, oh, he's still cutting about. So it's probably going to be a long video. I'll try to condense it, and hopefully by now you can see the groups on your screen. And of course we're going to start off with Group A, and there's not too much for me to add on to here besides my gut opinion, where a lot of people are predicting Mexico to go quite far in this competition because they are one of the hosts, they're used to the conditions, etc, etc. I'm actually going to go a slightly different way here, as I think South Korea is going to go pretty damn far, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, as they're not just Son FC anymore. They're littered with players and they've got a decent spine. So I'm going to go Korea, I'm then going to go Mexico, I'm then going to go Czech, and end, of course, with South Africa. Group B or not to be takes us into the first group with former Rangers players actually in it. The first up being the Canadian Derek Cornelius. Do you remember Derek Cornelius? Danny Roll. Certainly Disney. But despite getting sent to the Netherrealm from the Rangers manager, he has still made his way in to the World Cup squad, and he's expected to be a big piece of their puzzle, as he's always represented Canada very well, always put in solid performances, and again he's got that eye for a goal, whether it is from crosses or also set pieces, as he scored an absolute screamer his last time representing Canada. But he's not the only centre back that formerly played for Rangers. Nah, there is one more in this group, and that goes for Bosnia by the name of Big Katic. And everybody knows what I think of Big Katic, you know what I mean? He just puts a smile on my face, you know what I mean? No frills or anything like that, but just an old school defender. And the big man, despite having an injury hit campaign for his club, has found his way back at the international level, to represent his country, which I'm buzzing for. And again, this is the same country that sent Italy packing, by the way, so they might have a few more surprises left in them, especially as they're led by the one and only Dzeko up front, which again is just one of those players who just puts a smile on your face because he just bags goals. But that's it in terms of that group, and where I would love to pick one of the former Rangers lads to lead their country to the top. There is a team called Switzerland, which, yeah, may be boring on paper, but for me they're just so incredibly balanced and led perfectly by Big Xhaka, who is a great midfielder. He can do everything you need, but he's a proper leader as well. And I just think when you look at them, again, defence, midfield, attack, they're solid. So for me, they'll top the group. And then it becomes a shootout between Canada and Bosnia, in my personal opinion. And honestly, I'm feeling like maybe the home advantage for Canada might help them over the line, and that's the way it could play out, but could easily have just went like this as well. It all just depends if Dzeko can find his scoring boots and they can create enough chances for them. A lot of that is based on set pieces, so it may end up who scores more goals against Qatar, and if that is the case, I think Canada might just nick it. Moving on to Group C, and it's obviously the group that's going to have a lot of eyes, and for me, one of the hardest, if not the single hardest group in this World Cup. Because if you look at it, right, this is Scotland's first World Cup in absolute donkeys. And who do they get? The opposite donkeys, as they find themselves in the only group that's got two teams within the top 10 world rankings. Have you ever heard of anything more Scottish luck than that. And where it's been a wee while since me and these spoke about Scotland right here on this channel, we've obviously covered Scotland over several TikTok channels over the last couple of years with the Scottish football charity team that I was a part of, so we've been keeping an eye on them, Stevie Clark, etc, etc, but we've never really went into depth on the channel for a wee while, barring the international recaps. But I think most people know where I sit regarding international football. For me, it's sort of lost its spark. It's not got the same pull that it used to do, because to me it's been watered down so much with all these friendlies every couple months, what used to be a special occasion, just it's that time again, right? It's 2 months, there's another bunch of friendlies, and players that probably shouldn't be getting enough caps anyway end up hitting crazy milestones over really truly great players, because again there's so much international friendlies these days. But of course this isn't about international friendlies, that thankfully is pushed to the side. We're talking about a major competition here, and where Scotland has reached again the first World Cup for donkeys. They're not just scratching in the back door or lucky to be here. For me, they're a team that's littered with talent themselves. And we're sitting here repping an old classic Scotland top, hopefully bringing them a bit of luck, especially when it comes to the likes of Finlay Curtis, that I'm absolutely buzzing to see if he can get on that world stage and continue to make an impression. Because for me, he's building, and if he goes and has a good World Cup, there's no way we can put him behind and sit him behind some journeyman or some loanee or some any of this. He goes there and has a World Cup and shows what he's got. For me, he's making a big statement about where he wants to be and where he should be getting played. But where there is the excitement of Finlay Curtis, you've also got Gannon Dokes on the other side. You've got real talent now and excitement. You've actually got players in the Scottish national setup that gets the bums off seats when they're allowed to attack and when they're allowed to go forward. And when they are allowed to go forward, they are spearheaded by the likes of Shay Adams, who I know sort of splits a lot of people's opinions, but now you've got Big Shanks up there scoring every single time that he plays. And I'm not just saying this now because obviously he's signed for Rangers, but that's the type of player you start in these games, especially in this group and especially in this tournament, when this game versus Haiti is going to be so damn important. Goal difference could genuinely define this entire group and define multiple places, so there isn't time for the Stevie Clark handbrake stuff to be put on. Whether you sit in the camp that he's one of the greatest Scottish managers of all time, or you look and say no Scottish manager has ever had this many opportunities and this many expanded tournaments to make it to the dance, so overinflates his stats. No matter which side of the argument you sit on, they're new at a tournament, they're at a World Cup. No more crap, let's try a go here and let's try to put out a statement, and that has to start again the right way, playing attacking football and putting the ball into the back of net. Again, the midfield is solid. I'm gutted for wee Billy Gilmore not being able to make it, if I'm honest, as he's just got something that we've not really got in the team. But you've still got quality. You're still led by the likes of McGinn, McTominay, that can win any game for any frickin' team. So aye, there's certainly a lot to be optimistic about and excited about. Just that defence is a little bit of a worry, especially the centre-back pairing, and then of course the goalkeeping situation where barely any of them play, and one of them's so old that if you smash them with a football full blast, it'd probably turn into a vampire for Buffy when they get staked and instantly become dust. But again, for me, the positives outweigh the negatives, and that's not always the case when you talk about the Scottish national setup. Of course, we've got Shanks, you've got Curtis in there. Suter's also called up. Not sure how much he's going to play, but I'm pretty damn sure if he does play, he'll get more minutes than Liam Kelly. But there's the players that's representing Scotland on this international tournament. And aye, good luck to every one of them, and good luck to Scotland, because they're probably going to need a bit of luck, because the two other teams in this group is damn scary. And it's funny, right, because there's almost two sides of the Brazil conversation, because when I hear Brazil, I think of 2002 World Cup, I think of the excitement, I think of the way they played, I think of the haircuts, I think of the top world class style players, and that brings a fear. But then there's also people that continue to say Brazil's not the same anymore, they're not the same and they're nothing that they were. I sit sort of in between. I do think this Brazil squad is on the way up from the depths of playing the likes of Fred up front. A wee while ago, they were a shadow of themselves. But you're talking about a side that's got the likes of Vinny Jr. when he wants to be, is as good as anybody these days in football. You've got Casemiro having an incredible season for Man United. You've got a centre-back pairing of Marquinhos, who just won the Champions League again with Gabriel, who, went ahead and missed a penalty. But you know, his threat from set pieces, he's the one that helped Arsenal win the first league title in umpteen years. That's a disgusting spine when you consider that it's either Ederson or Alisson at the goalkeeping position, and that's what you need in football. That's what gives you the option and chance to do whatever else you can do. Then you sprinkle in the likes of Rafinha and everything like that. The mercurial Neymar situation. Is he fit? Is he injured? Is he fit? Is he injured? The mentality of that squad, it could be dangerous, and I can see why a lot of people would pick Brazil to lead this one. Ladies and gentlemen, there's another side in there that I actually need to reset right here. There's another side to put in there. That's Morocco, because where people are looking at Morocco saying, oh, if we beat Morocco, we've got a good chance after beating Haiti, you can't count your chickens, especially against this side, because I'm pretty damn sure the team that will be leading Group C is Morocco. And I know the heat part of the game, but that's almost a disservice to the likes in Morocco and the talent that they are absolutely jam-packed with, position for position. You saw how they performed at the last major tournament. You saw how they performed at the AFCON as well. By the way, despite the controversy that ended with that, there is players in there, and I know their manager is completely inexperienced compared to the Don Carlo Ancelotti, but he is also a manager that won the World Cup for the under-20s in Morocco, and they're all together. They're a proper team. So I didn't think it's Brazil and then Scotland troops. I think it's Morocco. Then we start to look. But again, for me, it's all going to come down to goal difference. And I just think Brazil's got more bodies and more people that's able to put a certain amount of goals beyond the likes of Haiti that I think will come back to bite Scotland in the you-know-what. But I do believe Scotland will get enough from this group to live to fight another day. Moving on to Group D, you've got one of the hosts in terms of USA, you've got Paraguay, you've got Australia, and you've got everyone's dark horse favourite 6 years ago in terms of Turkey. And where this group again is going to be tight, as I think 1 point is going to separate everyone, I'm going to go USA to lead the way. Then I think most people are going like Turkey, then Paraguay, and that's the way it's panning out. But yeah, once bitten, twice as shy when it comes to Turkey. The more people talk Turkey up again, the more nervous I'm getting. And you know what? I think people are overlooking Australia and what they were able to do at Qatar in the last World Cup. And I know about 6.2% of my regular viewership is from down under. So I've got your backs, lads. Go ahead and have a World Cup. I'll put them at second and I'll put Turkey at third. But where that might be controversial to some, Group E is probably going to be very controversial, as I think nearly everybody's picking Germany to finish top, and again 99.9% of me thinks that's true as well. But there's just that group always just doesn't always go to plan. And for me, there's another team that's not Curacao, led by Mr. Dick Advocate, the General himself. I don't like Dick, but I like Dick Advocate though. That guy, shout out wherever he is right now. But it isn't them, and it isn't even Ivory Coast, who could bite a lot of teams and hurt a lot of teams. It's actually going to be Ecuador. Yeah, I'm being serious. William Paco, you've got the likes of Caicedo. You just look at them. They're big, they're strong, they're powerful, they're good for set pieces. They're really good at defending set pieces. There's always just this surprise in the group, and I just think it might be Ecuador, but considering it's me saying it, they're probably going to finish last. But I will put the Germans in second for there, Ivory Coast in third, and that'll finish up the group with the General picking up the rear. Over to Group F, and where Japan is clearly one that grabs your attention because the way they play, how quickly they can attack, the amount of goals they score. There's no wonder a lot of people is picking it to top this group, but I just think people are forgetting that often it's keeping clean sheets, it's keeping that back door shut, and where Netherlands is clearly not the side they were years and years ago with all the attacking flair, and seemingly Gakpo's just lost his legs this season. Defensively and midfield, I still think think they're solid despite Van Dijk diminishing over the last 12 months. So I'm going to go with one of my dark horses for the entire tournament in terms in the Netherlands. I think they'll be alright until they need to start scoring goals. Then they'll be in trouble. But scoring goals bring me to Japan. Then I think it's going to be a shoot between Sweden and Tunisia. But I'll go Sweden then Tunisia. Now, I'll be honest with you, Group G is probably the easiest group, and it actually just goes in the way that they're linked up, in my personal opinion. Sorry, Elijah Just, if you ever come up the road. If you didn't, I take it all back, as I think Belgium, Egypt, Iran, then New Zealand. But Iran could actually even finish second in that group. It all depends what type of Salah turns up for this tournament. But obviously Belgium brings us into another Rangers conversation, as we have the one and only Nico Raskin in the middle of the park, and where I think Belgium will just scoosh through the group stages as they always do. Then it gets tricky when it gets to the knockouts. It's an equally a big tournament for him, as well, as I think if he even just has a decent, not a great, not a world class, no, if he has a decent World Cup and Belgium reaches the last 16 or the last 32, whatever, it could be the farewell to Nico Raskin, and he could be moved on in this summer, as someone will eventually come in and slap an offer on the table. And some people think that's the worst thing that could happen, but also some people think, well, if you're going to cleanse the leadership group, Raskin also needs to go. So some big tournament for the wee man. I actually hope he does well. And Danewell takes us to Group H, and I'm just going to click Spain because there's no point faffing about, oh, they've not got a centre forward. They've not had a centre forward for 10 years since David Villa hung up the bits, yet they still do things and they're still ridiculously talented. So Spain, Uruguay, then probably Cabo Verde, actually, then Saudi Arabia, which is the way I'm going to do. I know it's their first World Cup, but there's always that wee team that comes out there and surprises and shocks everybody that's overlooked. So that's the way I'm seeing that. Again, speaking of just clicking a button, let's just click France and stop messing about. To summarise how gluttony of talent this team actually is, Cherki, who lit up the Premier League this season, one of the hardest leagues in the world, won't even start for this. He doesn't get near the starting 11. That's how blessed the talent that they've got. It's a joke. It then becomes a wee bit of a shoot between Senegal and Norway, in my opinion, led by none other than, you know his name, Telo Asgard. Oh, I don't know if anybody's still going to be watching, but I can pretty much guarantee I'm the only guy that's done these prediction videos that's not said Haaland in that situation. And you're welcome for that. But obviously, Telo Asgard might get a few minutes, might be able to come off the bench and make an impact, but it is clearly Haaland FC. And I'll be honest, I'm actually excited to see what Norway can do in this tournament, where I appreciate everything Haaland does under Pep Guardiola, who's one of the greatest managers of all time. He's freed of the shackles of possession. He plays on a team now that's geared towards him in terms of Norway, and it's like flashback, rub your eyes, he's back at Dortmund. They play balls in behind, they have him running, they have him pushing folk out the way, and I think it could be a massive tournament for him as well if Odegaard can find his passing boots. And even beyond Haaland, if they need another goal, you bring on another 6'5" Viking in terms of Sorloth. This is a team that could go very, very far, in my opinion. Which means the very talented and stacked in their own way Senegalese side is third in this group. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing like Koulibaly versus Haaland. That could be an absolute battle right there. Excited to see that one. Iraq come in last. Speaking of last, we have Jordan, who's in Group G. It's fitting, it is their World Cup, but just like Katie Price's pants in the early 2000s, I think they are going to be on the flare, as Argentina under Messi's leadership will top this group. I know there's the curse and all that stuff. Nah, no for me. Austria's a bit like Switzerland for me. They've just got players, you just look at them like, yeah, they're good. Will all come down to how they perform in the heat, of course, but that will then lead Algeria third, and again Jordan on the deck. Group K, or what a lot of people looking into this World Cup just says the Ronaldo group, is there's a lot of conversations. Will Portugal be able to do what Argentina done for Messi and win it for one of their GOATs? That's the big conversation, and where for years Ronaldo carried Portugal on his back, it's time for this team to now carry him on his back. And where I understand that narrative, he is also the highest scoring Portuguese centre forward. I think he scored 29 goals in his last 30 games for his country, so it's not as if he's just a useless pensioner and it's just a pity act. Who else are you going to play instead of him. That never comes up in the conversations. He's not going to press or anything like that, but has Messi ever pressed? When you're a generational talent, usually that slack gets picked up. And when you look at this Portuguese midfield, yeah, they can carry a lot of that slack, as I just think, yeah, they're a scary, scary team to be. I think Colombia, I know James Rodriguez and that's been recalled. A wee bit gutted that Alfredo's not there. Would have been cool to talk about him. Stick a yellow card on for that laddie, but Luis Diaz has been great, and I think that's just going to end with Congo and then finishing it up like that. No too many surprises in terms of Group K. I think Portuguese will slide right through that, a lot like Argentina, without many problems, which takes us to the last, but certainly not least, and I'm just going to click the button as well for England right here, as clearly they will top this group. I know there's some controversy regarding Tuchel's approach with this one, and some of the players he's left out, the likes of Phil Foden, the likes of Cole Palmer. For me, I think Jared Bowen should be in that conversation as well, as I think he's been great again for a dreadful West Ham team, but they survived to the very last day because not only were Spurs bad, but Jared Bowen was carrying them on his back. I just like that football player, but again, at the same time, he's made his decision and he's trying to build that team and build upon that team. That mentality might be the difference maker. I just think you need at least one maverick on your bench. I know both Foden and Palmer's not been great this season, but at least have one, you know what I mean, in case you need it. I mean, Palmer scored versus Spain in a final not too long ago. He's got, son, I took one of the Mavericks, but he's made his decision, but I don't think it's going to hurt the group football because I've got the likes of Declan Rice in there, and you've got Harry Kane, who you already know what I think of that laddie, where I put him in terms of strikers. He's about as good as it gets, you know what I mean? And not only is he one of the greatest goal scorers of the last 10 years, the fact that he scored about 64 goals in 53 games this season backs up. I just think he's a very, very talented player as well that could probably play anywhere on the parking, which is funny is for both Bayern and for England. He often does play everywhere. So I think England's going to be fine. Croatia somehow still getting led by Gail Platt to this day. How's we Gail Platt doing this in terms of Croatia? And it's because of the Modric effect I'm putting them in second. I was sort of tempted by going by Ghana. I was sort of leaning that way, but I think it is going to play maybe the most obvious way. England, Croatia, Ghana, and then Panama, who every time I hear their name, I think of Michael Schofield saying it 400 times to Sarah during Prison Break. So with the group stages now sorted, we now need to pick 8 teams from the third place positions. And again, Senegal's definitely going to be there in my opinion. Ivory Coast will be in there. I do think Turkey will be in and amongst it and pick up enough points. I also think Iran might pick up enough points, but we'll wait and see how many we need. As I think Czech will get it. Scotland, I certainly hope, will get it. Bosnia, big Katic with Heather. We'll have to see that. I think Sweden will sneak one, and then it's a shootout between Iran, Algeria, and Ghana. I know Congo's got like Wan-Bissaka and everything like that. They might be tough to break down, but I'll just go Algeria. I'll go Algeria there, and I'll back wee Mahrez today. Some things. To the knockouts we go, and if I've been correct, I wouldn't have been, by the way. This is the way it's gonna go ahead and pan out, and the first game's actually gonna be Ecuador versus Turkey, and I'm going big with my Ecuador pick. I'm ironically doing to Ecuador what everybody done to Turkey all those years ago. You've then see France. I didn't need to see who they're playing. Sorry, Sweden. Good luck to yous and everything like that. But you see France, you click France. The next game is going to be Mexico versus Canada. That is a spicy game considering they're both hosts of the tournament, but I just think Mexico will just have too much for Canada, and it'll be the end of the line for Derek Cornelius. The next game, Netherlands versus Brazil. I probably should have proofread these before I clicked them, because I've just seen my dark horse in the tournament come up against Brazil. That's not what you want to see ever. But do you remember how I says Netherlands will do well until they come up against a team that they need to score against, and it'll be on their attack? Yeah, this is it. Marquinhos and Gabriel versus their backline. It's the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. This one I can see gone all the way to pens, but I think Brazil's individual flair and penalty taking will see them over the line and wave goodbye to my dark horse pick. Next game up, we have Colombia versus Croatia, and good luck to Gail Platt, but I do believe that heat will play its factor and Colombia will knock them out. Spain, yep, Spain. Sorry, Austria. That will set up another lovely game. You then get USA versus Bosnia. Aye, that's the type of game that both USA and Bosnia will ironically be praying for if they reached the round of 32. Either team could win that, but I'm going to go with the host nation, as one of the hosts always goes to a certain stage, threatens to get there, and I think they'll just take it to the round of 16 where they'll face Belgium. And continuing with our round 32 journey, we've now got Morocco versus Japan, and that's a game I'll definitely be watching every minute of, as that just screams goals to me. Both play fast, forward-thinking football. They all commit men forward. That'll be one of the games of the tournaments, but I do back Morocco to go far into this tournament. And then you've got Germany versus Norway. By God, that is a game that Germany will only be wanting anywhere near, in my opinion. And maybe the likes of Haaland, who had a lot of success in Germany, will be licking his lips on that one. That's a hard game to break down. It really, really is. My initial gut is telling me to go Germany. They've got the experience. They've been there and done it. They've got winners in their team, and Norway's obviously inexperienced in terms of this type of tournament. But I just think that freaky robot, Haaland, man, anything can happen with that guy. But I will go with Germany on this occasion. Now, you might be able to already tell how this is going to play out in the next minute or two, so we won't faff around too much. If Scotland do reach the round of 32 and play the likes of Korea, I'm going to go ahead and pick them to get over the line, grind it out, and reach the last 16 of the competition. Imagine we Curtis just open the body up and putting you in the bread basket, hitting it first time way, that left peg. That would be sensational. Or again, it could be the likes of Shanks. It could be McGinn. It could, of course, be McTominay. There's so many options out there. So I'll do it, ladies and gentlemen. Round of 16, considering the way that's panned out. And if anybody is watching, by the way, would you take that game right now versus Korea in the last 32? Let me know. That would be sensational. But obviously at the Atlanta Stadium, you've then got England versus Senegal. I don't think many English fans would be looking forward to that, if I'm honest. But of course, England are going to win that game and set up an absolute eye-widening game of football versus Scotland. We'll get there, don't worry about that. We do have Argentina versus Uruguay, and that could easily go either way. I will pick Argentina. Australia versus Egypt. I'm going to do it. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. I've got your backs, lads. Moving on, you've then got the other place, which is Switzerland versus Algeria. I'll go with Switzerland. And Portugal versus Ivory Coast. Again, is a mad game, but I'll go with Portugal on that occasion. Going all the way back up to the tippity top. That means we now need to talk about Ecuador, who's my big pick, my big shout this year. They play France. See you later, lads. All the best. Take care of yourselves. Mexico versus Brazil. Tight as well, but I do believe it will be Brazil on this occasion. You've then got Colombia versus Spain. That's not a game that Spain would be wanting either, baby. That's another game that could go extra time. I really believe that, but Spain's just got enough quality. Yamal should be in and amongst it at that point. That sets up USA versus Belgium, and I believe Belgium will finally take that next step and threaten to be there and send the US of A away at the last 16. But that'll be a scary game as well to watch. You've then got Morocco versus Germany. No. Now, you might be able to tell this is live and I've not seen the way these games actually break down, but I wasn't expecting. I thought it was going to be like a Germany in a semi-final when I was plotting it in my mind, but I didn't think Germany beats Morocco. I just didn't these days. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. Speaking of don't believe it, where everybody will be screaming to put Scotland in there, Shankland's Army, Curtis FC, etc. Maybe even Big John Soapy Suitor getting a header. I do think in a game like that, it's going to come down to individual quality. Now, England's clearly got a better overall squad in terms of defence, midfield and attack. Scotland's still got a lot of issues in terms of the defensive area and their goalie. So I do expect a fiery game, but a game that sees England reach the quarterfinals. Argentina Argentina versus Australia, another tightly contested game with a bit of history, but sorry, I do feel like Argentina will continue to battle against the curse and reach the Kansas City Stadium in the quarterfinals, where, you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, Portugal will see and go over a stubborn Switzerland side to give us the game that every football fan wanted 10 years ago when they were in their prime. But it doesn't matter now. Just like every other boxer like Floyd, Pacquiao, we eventually get it. Ronaldo, Messi, quarterfinal of the World Cup, pensioners or no, give me it. And when you get to the quarterfinals, you know you're in for banger. And this one, France versus Brazil, is about as good as it gets. It's already been a World Cup final, probably good enough to be a good World Cup final again this year. But they will meet, apparently, at the quarterfinal stage. And this is when I feel like the question marks regarding Brazil will come up, and it will be their undoing, as I do see France going ahead and putting Brazil away. Question marks about the striker. Is it Cunha? Is it Thiago? The question mark regarding Neymar's back now. Is he helping? Is he hurting Vinny Jr.? Can Vinny accept splitting up and sharing the spotlight? I think that'll start to come there, and I think France will just come into that match and just put them away and say goodbye to the Brazilians. But that will set up a matchup which we all know is coming eventually, I think, in this tournament, as I believe that Spain will see beyond Raskin FC and send Belgium home. And getting into the final two quarterfinals, I don't know where I'm going to go with this one, because I really, again, when you plot it in your mind, I was thinking Germany, Morocco, semi, blah, 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 all this type of stuff. But aye, they come up against England on that one, Saturday the 11th of July. It's going to be a nippy game. I just think England's going to get over the line and reach another semi-final of a major competition. That one genuinely could go to penalties as well, which I know sort of history suggests would go Morocco's favour, but England's won a couple recently. I know they've lost a big one, of course, but aye, we're all talking about Saturday the 11th of July, we're all talking about Ronaldo and Messi, and it's just what football will be. But aye, where I thought, again, Argentina would end up going further than Portugal, I'm just going to go with my gut right here, and my gut is that absolutely world-class midfield for Portugal, where Argentina's obviously got the likes of Martinez, he's got McAllister and all that. McAllister is a wee bit off the boil, and I think he was so underrated when they won the last World Cup. He's not been playing as much for Liverpool, he's been sort of in and out, and I just feel like, you know what I mean, they've gave everything they've gave to get Messi that. I think Portuguese players will feel that pressure they need to win that game, and Ronaldo, I don't know what that psychopath will do during the match. If he's getting beat 3-0 down, he might just headbutt somebody and go out like Zidane. But I'll do it that way, and I'll set up a wee Ronaldo-England rematch, considering all the rivalry there. And that also sets up the other semi-final, where France and Spain, which again, genuinely, should be the final. And I doubt many people are watching this late into the video, but if you are watching, who wins that matchup between France and Spain? I think it could clearly go either way. I think it would be really tight, but San's just telling me this France team's different, and if San's not working, they've got 5 or 6 world-class players to come off the bench and make the difference. Where Spain's got very good players, have they got the depths of the tools that France has got these days? I don't think so, and that'll pay, or it will be, the difference. And speaking of difference, England versus Portugal, their own history. Ronaldo's came back and stung them several times. Ronaldo's done this in the past. Can Ronaldo go ahead and reach a World Cup final that a lot of people was hoping for his camp? I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen, as I just think England goes ahead and gets there and avenges all the drama with Ronaldo's shenanigans in the past. As honestly, this is more about Ronaldo. I just think he's cursed when it comes to these World Cups. Where nobody cares if Messi has a bad game for Argentina, one bad game for Ronaldo, and the press is on him, hounding him. There's all the questions about, should it be this guy starting, should it be this guy starting? And I just think on my birthday, the 15th of July, it will be that, and Ronaldo's last chance at immortal glory in terms of the World Cup will be over. And that will set up the World Cup final between France and England. And do you remember way back at the start of this video where I said England's choice not to bring a Maverick and have him on the bench and have him in there in the biggest and best moments to bring off the bench might come back to haunt them? I think it haunts them in the final, and I think it's a decision it's often looked back at because they'll look to the bench, where again there is good players in there, but who would you rather come off the bench to win you a game? Madueke or Cole Palmer? You know what France is going to do. They've got the likes of Cherkis, all these types of guys to come off. True world-class players lining the starting 11 and the bench. England's decision not to do that same with their Maverick style players will come back to haunt them, and that's why I see France being the overall World Cup champions. Is it a boring choice? Probably for a lot of people, but it's just what I believe, especially with the fixtures breakdown. I think once they beat Spain, or if they beat Spain, then it's France's to lose. I truly believe the only thing that can stop France winning it is France, if you catch my drift. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's been my World Cup prediction video, the first ever World Cup prediction video I've done on this channel, but I've enjoyed doing it. Thank you to those that did request it. I know this is not going to have the same amount of views or anything like that as my other videos, but it's been fun to do something a wee bit different and get in and have a wee bit of a laugh with you guys reacting to that live. So if you are taking your time today, watch this video, thank you so much. Please let me know who you think's going to win the World Cup. Who's your dark horse for the competition, and who's going to be the top goal scorer? Love to know down there, and if we are going to continue to do World Cup content, we can come back to this and see if anybody gets it right. I think France will win it. My dark horse was the Dutch, but if that's the way it's going to play out, maybe it is Morocco, and I think the top goal scorer will be a shootout between Mbappe and Harry Kane, which again is boring actually, but the way this is breaking down and reaching the final, probably makes sense. But that's me done and dusted. Love to see your comments down in the comment section below, and if you would like to see any more World Cup content, reactions, Scotland breakdown, Rangers players breakdown, just let me know. And that's what we're here for, because it's not just me on this channel, it's about what you guys want to see. And until then, I've been CJ Over 92. Thank you so much for watching. All the best, and bye bye.